Well, it's impossible to tell. When we first launched, we were hoping for, maybe 400, 500 people. Harvard didn't have a Facebook, so that's the gap that we were trying to fill. And now we're at 100,000 people, so who knows where we're going next. We're hoping to have many more universities by the fall, hopefully over 100 or 200. And from there, we're going to launch a bunch of side applications, which should keep people coming back to the site and maybe could make something cool.
Hey, I'm going to have to go ahead and ask you to come in on Saturday.
And Sunday. So I guess one of the things that was pretty interesting was just sort of trying to, when we got to a point in terms of traffic where we started maxing out the performance of some of these open source applications that are generally pretty performant. So for example, MySQL is a really good open source database.
You can take a person and look them up, and you can get a picture of how they'd like to portray themselves in addition to, say, the courses that they're taking, sports teams, clubs that they're a part of, and who their friends are at the school. But I think that there's a lot of times where people will just go out, meet someone, say, okay, I don't know that much about this person, and they'll go back to their room and do what people call Facebook them, which is go on the Facebook and look them up just to kind of see the snapshot of what they have.
So yeah, I tend to agree that a lot of the focus has been on things that we as a company aren't necessarily as focused on. And the thing that we are trying to do at Facebook is just help people connect and communicate more efficiently. 2008 has been a year where we've mostly focused on growing the user base. Right? We've gone from around 50 million users at the beginning of the year to now more than 100 million users. Right? It seemed like we hit 100 million users a couple of months ago, and now we're already at around 125, and it's just growing really quickly. And a lot of what we've done is made it so that we can grow internationally.
The person who's putting the content on Facebook always owns the information, and that's why this is such an important thing, and why Facebook is such a special service that people feel a lot of ownership over. Right? This is their information; they own it.
And you won't sell it?
They often want to. No, of course not. I mean, they want to share it with only a few people, right? I might upload a photo album that I only want to share with a few members of my family or my friends from high school, and it's really important that that information only goes to those people.
Well, I think a lot of it goes back to those values, right? I mean, the values often come from the founder, the person running the company. So I think I believe those things probably the most strongly of people at the company.
Move fast.
Move fast, be bold.
The types of communication that a lot of people are doing these days, things like SMS and IM, are just a lot simpler, right? I mean, you don't have to remember an address. You pick out someone's name that you want to send something to, you send it to them. You don't have to think of a subject line. You don't need to say, hey, mom, at the beginning. You don't need to say, love, Mark, at the end. It doesn't need to, there's no paragraphs, or you don't need to keep track of different threads or anything like that. It's just really simple. On a personal level, that's super important to us. On a kind of strategic level for the country and the world, I think education is clearly the biggest thing that will drive how the economy improves over the long term, and therefore it's just fundamentally important for society. The statement we build, we don't build services to make money, we make money to build better services, really goes to the heart of the philosophy that we have in running the company. And there's no doubt we are a mission-driven company. I mean, we exist and we wake up in the morning, and the thing that gets us excited is making the world more open and connected, and the things that we're doing to build that. It was actually really interesting. People spent so much time just clicking through the links of people to see what classes they were in, and then in the classes they clicked on people who were the roster of the people, and I thought it was going to be interesting, and I wanted to solve this problem. I remember last year when we were here, I was kind of laying out what we were planning on doing on mobile, and everyone thought that mobile was this disastrous thing for Facebook. I mean, last year, second quarter, we had basically no money, no revenue on mobile, and now, it's in our last quarter, a year later, I think more than 40% of our revenue is mobile. And the primary purpose of the Facebook app today is newsfeed, right? You open it and you can look at content that your friends are sharing or public figures, and you can share things. And messaging was this behavior that people were doing more and more. There were more than 10 billion messages sent every day on Facebook. But in order to get to your messages, you had to open up the app, which would take a few seconds, and then go to a separate tab. And what we saw was that all of the messaging apps that people were using and that they relied on the most
were kind of these dedicated, focused experiences. So whether it's the SMS app or iMessage on your phone, or something like WhatsApp, which has grown a lot in a lot of countries.
The real shock to me was when I went down to visit the Oculus folks. In the original office was in Irvine, California. The thing that I realized was not, okay, this is a thing, but okay, this is a thing now, because you can produce this experience with a normal kind of screen that you'd find on a mobile phone, right? So now you don't have to invent some new exotic screen in order to make this possible. You can just use the stuff that there are already big assembly lines and manufacturing capacity spun up to produce these things at reasonable cost. And now the technology exists so you can use that to at least deliver the first generation, and that's now possible.
I built the first version of Facebook because it's something that my friends and I wanted to use at Harvard, a directory and a way to connect with the other people around us. And I didn't think at all that it was going to be a company.
To me, entrepreneurship is about creating change, not just creating companies. And the most effective entrepreneurs who I've met care deeply about some mission and some change that they're trying to create, and often they don't even start because they're trying to create a company.
I remember that night I launched Facebook from that little dorm in Kirkland House. I went to Noakes with my friend KX, and I remember telling him clearly that I was excited to help connect the Harvard community, but one day someone would connect the whole world. The thing is, it never even occurred to me that that someone might be us. We were just college kids.
Kind of dream of one day, like you can almost imagine all of Facebook or Instagram being, like a single AI model that has unified all these different content types and systems together that actually have different objectives over different time frames, right? Because some of it is just showing you, what's the interesting content that you're going to be, that you want to see today. But some of it is helping you build out your network over the long term, right? People you may know or accounts you might want to follow.
Just since the last F8, we've seen the Me Too movement and the March for Our Lives organized at least part on Facebook. We've seen people come together after Hurricane Harvey to raise more than $20 million for relief. And we've seen more than 80 million small businesses use these tools to grow and create jobs. I've focused on building services that do two things. Give people a voice and bring people together. And these two simple ideas of voice and inclusion go hand in hand. And we've seen this throughout history, even if it doesn't always seem that way today. More people being able to share their experiences and perspectives has always been necessary to build a more inclusive society. And it is our commitment to each other that we hold each other's right to express ourselves and be heard above our own desire to always get our way in every debate. That's how we make progress together. I care about giving people a voice so that people can share their own experiences, so that they can share their opinions on things. But at the end of the day, in order for that to be valuable, there needs to be a strong and free press and people actually going and doing the work of uncovering the truth, right? And the important stories that people have kind of the basis and the ground truth to talk about, right? And debate and have that at scale. We take down now more than 1 million fake accounts a day across our network. The vast majority of those are within minutes of signing up for the fake account. The vast majority are not connected to state actors trying to interfere in elections. They're a combination of spammers and people trying to do different things, but certainly part of that is a state effort. So the AI systems to identify when accounts are not behaving in the way that people would are really important.
It always blows me away that India has more than 60 million small businesses, and millions of people around the country rely on them for jobs. And that's a big part of what I hope that our partnership can serve here. We support more than 50 million WhatsApp business app users globally every month already, and more than 15 million of these are in India. So with communities around the world now in lockdown, there are a lot of these entrepreneurs who need digital tools that they can rely on to find and communicate with customers and grow their businesses.
Back when I started Facebook, that mostly meant text that we typed on computers. Then we all got phones with cameras, and the internet became much more visual. And recently, as connections got faster, video has become the main way that we experience content. We've gone from desktop to web to phones, from text to photos to video, but this isn't the end of the line. The next platform and medium will be even more immersive, an embodied internet where you're in the experience, not just looking at it. And we call this the metaverse. And we're in a moment now when a lot of the technologies that will power the metaverse are starting to take off. There are more people in VR than ever before, more creators building worlds, more developers building apps, more brands getting into virtual goods, and more companies getting into the metaverse. This is great to see.
At Meta, we are focused on building the future of human connection. And what that means is that we build products to help people feel closer. Like we're right there, present with each other, with our friends and family and colleagues and the people we care about, no matter where in the world we actually are.
You'll see displayless glasses like the Ray-Ban Metas continue to get better and better. Great for AI. No display, but you can talk to it. It can talk back. I think that there's going to be something in between these that's basically a heads-up display. So it's not a 70-degree field of view. Maybe it's a 20-degree or 30-degree field of view. So that's not going to be what you want for putting kind of a full hologram of a person or interacting with the world around you. But it's going to be great for when you're talking to AI, not just having voice, but also being able to see what it's saying.